Let's take a look at how we can successfully export an animation from Blender. When you create your animation, you will need to be able to export it as the appropriate file format so you can use it outside of the Blender software. There are several steps that we need to take in order to ensure that we render our animations correctly. Here I have an extremely simple animation of a bouncing ball. The first step is to decide on the frame rate of your animation. If you go to the Properties panel and then go to the Output Properties tab, you will be able to see under Format the ability to change your frame rate. This should be done at the start of your project before you begin adding keyframes. The reason why is because changing the frame rate after creating your keyframes is going to affect your animation. Take a look at the speed of the bouncing ball at 24 frames per second. Now let's see what happens if I select this option and change it to 120 frames. Then press play. You can see the whole animation is much faster because our FPS has been increased. It is best to change this option as early as you can. The next step is to define the resolution of your animation, which can also be found under the Format section in the Output Properties tab. You will need to define your base resolution. 1080p is a good starting point for most animators. If you're looking at creating professional work, you may want to go up to a 4K resolution, but keep in mind this will substantially increase your render times. What you can do early on in your project, however, is lower this percentage value underneath. This is the resolution scaler. Before you render your final animation, you may want to test render what you have done. Of course, the test render won't need to be full resolution. It will just be a test to see if everything is in the correct place. What you can do is set this value to 50% so that when you create your test render, it takes much less time to complete that test render and you'll be able to preview your animation. Then, when you are ready to render the final result, you can increase this percentage back to 100, which would be a full 1080p resolution. Another factor that we need to consider is the animation length. We need to ensure that the start and end frames located here under frame range and here in the timeline are set so that we can play through the whole of our animation or whatever we want to render. What we can do here as well is we can reduce the end frame, in this example, to something like 60, and that will render the first 60 frames. Why do this? Well, because we might want to test render our animation, we can combine a lower frame range with a lower base resolution, and then we can render this frame range to test our animation. We don't need to test the entire animation, we just need to see if everything is correctly set up. So this setup here in the Properties panel, using half the resolution and a section of your animation using the frame range, is a good starting point for testing your animations before you finally decide to complete the project. When all is said and done though, and you want to complete your render, you'll need to make sure that the end frame is set to the correct position as well as the resolution. Another important point in the 3D viewport is to set up your camera's positioning. Here we are looking at our scene through our camera object. Anything that you see in this highlighted border is going to be rendered with our animation. Now if I go to view, you can see that we have locked the camera to view. This allows me to navigate my view and move the camera at the same time, so I can change the angle that I can view my animation from. Wherever I decide is the new position of the camera, that is how my animation is going to be rendered. So make sure to position your camera correctly before you press the render button. Again, when it comes to test renders, this is valuable because you can try viewing your animation from different areas and then decide which angle is best suited for your scene camera for the main animation. When you have completed the process of designing your scene and creating your keyframes, you will then need to define where you're going to send your rendered animation to before you actually press that render button. In the Output tab of the Properties panel, go to where it says Output. We can close the frame range and format for now and focus on this output area. By default, our animation is going to be sent to a temporary folder. We're going to want to change this for our final animation. So click on this button here that looks like a folder icon. This will open up our temporary folder and our file browser. You will need to set up a location for your animation to be rendered to. For beginners, I recommend sending it to your desktop. Then I recommend creating a new directory on your desktop. So click this button here and type in the name of your project. I'm just going to call it Red Ball and press enter. Then double click to open up this folder and you can see the location here. We're going to go down here and click the accept button that's highlighted blue, and you can now see that this location has been set as the output for our rendered animation. Below that you will have the file format. Now by default it should look like this, so you should be set to the PNG file format. You can click on this menu button here and change it to one of the movie files, for example FFmpeg video. Below that you will have this encoding section which you will need to open up. So left click to open, and then you can choose the container as well as the video codec, output quality and encoding speed. All are important to the quality of your rendered animation, the speed at which the animation is going to be encoded after rendering, as well as the amount of space that the final file is going to take up on your computer. Most of these will be absolutely fine, but for our recommendation we tend to go with the MPEG-4 container, the H.264 codec, we'd like to go with lossless quality and a good encoding speed. These are the settings that we normally use for our rendered animations. When you are finally ready to render your animation, come up to the render menu here in the header bar of the Blender user interface and open the menu. Then select render animation, or use the hotkey that is labelled to the side, in my case Ctrl F12. Keep in mind that the render engine that you are using, which is located here in the properties panel, could strongly define the quality of your render as well as the amount of time that it takes to complete the rendering process. I'm using the Eevee render engine because it's a very simple scene and I want it to render very quickly. You could go with cycles for added realism, but keep in mind that this is going to take a very long time to render, regardless of the machine that you are using, because you're going to have to wait for 300 individual frames to be rendered, and each frame is going to take a significant amount of time compared to Eevee. So for me, I'm going to set that to Eevee, go render, and select render animation. I will wait a couple of minutes for that to complete the process. When your animation has finished rendering, close the added window and then come back to your Output tab and select this button again to open up the file browser. You should now see your MP4 file or whatever you saved your video file as here. A safer method of rendering your animation than what we have just shown is to actually save it as an image sequence first and then convert it into a movie file. If you are rendering a longer animation, mainly using cycles, then at some point you may just end up with Blender crashing on you and you lose all the progress that you made in that render. Some animations can take hours or even days to render based on the project. So a safer method is to use images instead for the initial render. I'm going to come over to the Output tab here and I'm going to change the file format from FFmpeg video to PNG. So what's going to happen here is when I render my animation, instead of it rendering a single movie file, it's going to render an image for each and every frame in my animation. So I'm going to go render and select animation to begin rendering. When that's done, come back to the properties panel and open up the file browser here once again. This time in our folder, you will see that we have 300 PNG images. Each of these represents one of the frames of our animation. The reason why this is so useful is, as previously mentioned, Blender can crash at any point, especially while rendering. If your animation renders at frame 100 while you are trying to create a movie file, then you lose the rendering progress of the previous 100 frames. But if you were to render it one image at a time, then what you would be able to do is, if say Blender crashed on frame 100, so only the first 100 frames had been successfully rendered, then you could reopen Blender, come down to the start value for the frame time and change it to 101. Then it would begin rendering from frame 101 onwards. So you would just go render, render animation, and it would continue the rendering progress from that specific frame, ignoring the 100 frames before. With that done, you will now have what is known as an image sequence. So we want to then convert the image sequence that you see here into a single movie file. We can do that by going to the video editing workspace. Now I've already got it available here, but if we just scroll down on the scroll wheel, you'll see this plus button. So we can open up this plus button to add a new workspace, go to video editing and select video editing, and that will open up this workspace. At the moment it's empty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to the add menu and then I'm going to come down to where it says image sequence. Left click, then I'm going to locate my folder on the desktop. And here we have all of our frames as individual images. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click where it says name, and that's going to reorder the list so that number 1 is at the top and then it goes down all the way to 300. I'm going to come over to my settings over here and change the end frame to 300 because that's the length of our animation, and press enter. I'm going to press the A key to select all of our images and select add image strip at the bottom. Now if I press play on my timeline, you can see we are able to play through the animation. I'm just going to go back to the start, and in the video sequence editor we can edit this in many different ways, but I'm just going to show you what happens when we attempt to render our animation once again with this image sequence in the video sequence editor. So if we go back to our output here in the properties panel, you will see that we still have the same output. That's fine. We're now going to change the file format back to our FFmpeg. Go to encoding, and I'm just going to set it up how I like. So I'm going to go MPEG-4, H.264, lossless quality, and good encoding speed. Because we have content in the video sequence editor, it will overwrite the animation that we have created in our layout workspace. In the video editing workspace, we have our image sequence. So what we can do now is we can go render and select render animation, just as we would before. This time you'll see that it encodes and renders at a much faster rate, because it is encoding the data from our image sequence and not rendering what is in the 3D viewport. What's the result of this? Well, once that's finished, we can close it. We can go back to our output, and then you will see that we have our movie file here located in our folder, which has been rendered from our image sequence of PNG frames. This is a slightly longer way of getting to the same place, but it is a much safer way because it allows us to pick up where we left off in case Blender crashes during the rendering process.